morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sunday check-in session, a half hour of Dharma, reflection, and community connections. My name is Priscilla, and I'm checking in from sunny Sydney. If you're a new member to the community, please accept our wholehearted welcome. And if you have any questions about our practices and topics, we're all here to help. And to all our regular friends, welcome back. It is customary in Australia to begin any meeting by acknowledging the traditional owners of our land. So in the spirit of reconciliation, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we walk, study, and reside, the Wodi people of the Dharma Nation. And I pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. I also pay my respects to the traditional custodians of the various lands on which you all are. The check-in sessions have been developed by our Communities of Practice team and the entire community. These sessions aim to develop a reflective practice in response to changes. Guided by Humanistic Buddhism, we would like to cultivate our practices and build memorable friendships. Over 2024, we have been delighted to meet the authors of the book Cultivating Compassion. Today, we are privileged to meet Grace Ewart, who previously worked at Nantian Institute, had an instrumental role in bringing the Cultivating Compassion book together, and co-authored her chapter with Venerable Juewei. She will be speaking today on a concept the community may already have encountered, but are eager to hear much more about, the MettaVerses. Please welcome Grace.
Thanks, Priscilla. That was a lovely introduction. And hi, everyone. Before we begin, I'd love to take you all through a grounding exercise that I learnt recently that's really helped me to center myself before starting any meeting. So whenever you're ready, if you would like to take one hand out in front of you like this, and with your other hand, using your index finger, we're going to trace our fingers. But when we do this, we're going to breathe in as we go up to the point of our finger, hold when we reach the top, and breathe out as we go down. So I'll guide you through the first and we'll make our way along our hands. So when you're ready, breathing in, holding just there for a second, and breathing out as you trace back down, holding as you reach the center. And breathing in as you go up your index finger, holding at the point, and breathing out. You can do this at your own pace now as you go along your hand. Breathing in, holding at the top, and breathing out. I'm going to do a couple of these. And you can make your way back over. Noticing how your finger feels, your index finger tracing. Working your way back to the start. And there you go. I hope you may have learned a new practice this morning doing that. I really enjoyed that. So I can, enjoy tracing my hand, and it's a great way of centering yourself before a meeting. So for those who don't know me, my name's Grace. I use she, her pronouns. And I'm joining you on Dharawal country and would like to pay my respects to the Wodi people here on this beautiful land where I live, work, and play. I'm a community organiser for the Wilderness Society, which is an environmental not-for-profit organisation where I organise community members to take collective action on the environmental and climate crises. I worked for Nantian Institute in 2021 and 2022. And during this time, I had the privilege of editing our book, Cultivating Compassion, and co-authoring a chapter with Venerable Juewei called A Humanistic Buddhist Response to Crises through Mettāverses. In this chapter, we speak to the importance of establishing communities of loving kindness, or Mettāverses, to alleviate suffering caused by crises like the COVID-19 pandemic and climate change. But today I won't be talking directly about the content of this chapter, but rather my experience of Mettāverses through the climate and environmental justice movement. My first-hand experience of climate impacts was when I was about 8 or 9 years old. I remember it being extremely hot and dry. It was about 35 degrees on an island off the south coast of Victoria, which is an area usually categorized by its wetness, cold temperatures, and brisk winds. I was there with my parents to watch the motorbike racing. I remember going to the toilet in one of those demountable metal toilet blocks, and it felt like 40 degrees inside. It was the first time I felt directly impacted by drought, because I went to turn the tap on to wash my hands and forgot that there was no running water. This period of time was called the Millennium Drought. And I remember my mum saying, sometimes we go through periods of drought in Australia, and I didn't think much of it after that. At school, I understood climate change was a problem, but I assumed it was a problem for scientists and for certain jobs, people in certain jobs who were doing something to stop it. And it wasn't until I was at university when I realized the gravity of the problem and how big business and governments were doing little to stop it. I felt extremely hopeless, but this feeling of hopelessness led me to action. I felt a hunger to search for a community of young people who felt the same way and were doing something about it. So I joined a local group who were all uni students concerned about climate change and taking action to halt the climate crisis. We met once a fortnight to work on actions to take as a team, and we were one of 40 teams of young people across Australia doing the same thing. Being a part of a network of young people like this made me feel more powerful than I did on my own. And during this time, I learnt the concept of climate justice. So climate justice highlights how climate change disproportionately affects those who have contributed the least to the problem. It emphasises how multinational corporations and governments should take responsibility, and how the burden of combating climate change shouldn't be placed on individuals who don't have the financial capacity to do so. So understanding climate justice felt essential in the community group I was a part of, because it centered humanistic Buddhist values like compassion and loving kindness as a response to the injustices communities were facing as a result of greedy decision-making from multinational corporations and governments. Because my community group was centered around fighting for climate justice, we inevitably acknowledged the intersectionality of climate change with other economic and social justice issues, and co-created a community of compassion and loving kindness where we supported other groups with issues that intersected with ours, like First Nations rights and aspirations and Indigenous justice. I've seen my community practice loving kindness and compassion by showing up to rallies supporting First Nations rights and aspirations, volunteering during the time of the Voice referendum last year, donating to various organisations or directly to people who needed it, helping organise food drives, and really looking out for one another, checking in on each other's mental health, especially over the past 10 months as we've witnessed a genocide on social media. Being a part of a community like this has helped me to navigate the feelings of hopelessness I've experienced because of climate impacts. So Mettāverses can look like a range of different groups, like the community that I experienced and the community of practice here today. So I've put together 2 questions to help guide your discussions in breakout rooms today around the concept of, Mettāverses, so communities of loving kindness. So I'd love for you to discuss in your breakout rooms today, where have you experienced Mettāverses in the face of crises? For example, have you experienced Mettāverses outside of this community of practice? And how has your experience of being part of a community that practices loving kindness helped you or those you love deal with crises? I'll pass back to Priscilla now.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your journey and these 2 wonderful questions. So, friends will be placed in groups of 3 to 4 to share and discuss. In the discussion, we recommend you spend some time getting to know each other and then discussing the 2 questions Grace has posed for us. There will be some Zoom notifications to guide you, but feel free to let the flow of the discussions guide you as well. So, happily, our sessions are guided by Metta, which is unconditional love and kindness for all sentient beings. Let's use these breakout sessions to express and receive loving kindness to and from one another. Take time to pause, to share, and to listen. We'll also ask you to share some of your findings with the larger group at the end of the discussion. But for now, let's go to the breakout rooms for some rich and nourishing discussions. We'll see you back in 15 minutes. I hope everyone enjoyed those discussions. We had a lovely discussion about the small size which a metaverse can be and the big size a metaverse can be. So if you have any comments, please write them in the chat box and our poster team will be able to send these out to our wider metaverse, to the communities of practice. So keep on typing it in the chat box if you can. So thank you, Grace, for this session. We hope that the check-in session was helpful to all of you, and we hope you experienced the unconditional love and compassion of this community. For anyone who might be experiencing a greater need than what today could meet, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us on the email above, and you can also reach out to the professional organisations on the screen. So just an announcement that the NTI Conversation series will be continuing on the 24th of July, so in 2 Wednesdays' time. So join us for this free event online on joy, love, compassion, and equanimity, facilitated by Associate Professor Pema Duddle. We'll share the link in the chat box at the end of the session and in next week's midweek email to the community. So next week, our friend Peter de Graaf will facilitate a session for us. Peter is a long-time contributor to the communities of practice, Nantian Institute and Temple, an avid student of Buddhism, and is currently studying Indian religions at the Oxford Centre of Hindu Studies. As we check out today, let's recite the dedication of merits together to send love and compassion to whoever is in need.
Let us now dedicate the goodness of what you have done to all living beings. May kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity pervade all worlds. May we cherish and build affinities to benefit all beings. May Chan, Pure Land, and precepts inspire equality and patience. May our gratitude and humility give rise to great vows.
So thank you, Grace, for your time and your generous sharing today. Thank you, Joe, for being our IT master behind the scenes. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. So now we'll have our usual plenary session. Please stay around if you have time. If not, we'll see you next Sunday again at 11 a.m.